first of all, you're on the cover of Bazaar magazine, naked. And did you think if you wore a big hat, nobody would notice that you were naked? What's the hat, and what was that choice?
You know, it was an amazing hat. That was a suggested wardrobe. So
but like if a big gust of wind came along, you would take off.
It'd kind of be like the flying nun.
Yes, but flying naked nun.
Yes.
Yeah, and I understand, I heard you talk about this, that you would do this, but you didn't want to get any kind of retouching or anything. So this is like you.
I mean, I felt like it was important that it be real. I mean, I felt like it was really brave that Glenda Bailey was putting a woman almost 57 years old on the cover of a fashion and beauty magazine. And when she suggested that I do one with just a hat, I just said that's the only way to do it, though.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, because if you're not going to wear a hat, then it's, you know.
Yes, exactly.
You're not going to do it. Yeah. All right, let's get into the book because there's a lot of sharing in this book, a whole lot of sharing. Are you nervous for? I mean, you wrote it, and you knew it was going out there, but you know, you talk about a lot of different things, not just your childhood, which was pretty messed up, but you talk about your relationship with Bruce, your relationship with Ashton. Are you nervous?
In a way, I'm nervous for anyone who is in there, from a point of view of feeling sensitive and putting myself in their place. But overall, no. I feel so good about the point of view, which for me, I have no interest in blaming or villainizing anyone. The journey in the book is about overcoming, and in a sense, this is my story, my point of view. If anyone else in the book, including my daughters, if they see things differently, and in some cases they did, they had some things that they had sensitivity to, because it being my story didn't always allow for the context of, say, things that created the pain they had, of when they weren't speaking to me, for me to share. It was truly honest about what my experience was.
It was coming from where you were, and them not talking to you. Okay, so you talk about Ashton. Have you talked to Ashton?
I have.
Before this came out?
Yes.
So you talk, and it's you know, I am friends with Ashton. I am friends with you, and I read this book, and like you say, it's your experience, but you talk about that he was not faithful to you, that he had affairs. And then you talk about that he kind of instigated you having threesomes.
And I don't think it should be implied that he instigated. I think it was, and again, in trying to keep the perspective on my story, he expressed something that was of a fantasy, and it was in my efforts to want to please. And be what I thought he wanted.
Right.
Yeah.
So you just, and even though the infidelity, and even though these things that you loved him, you wanted to keep the relationship going, and you just tried to keep it going in that way.
Yeah, I think that is it.
Right.
I think, you know, it was a misguided sense of not really wanting to look maybe at the harder question, or maybe the what was really missing, or in my case, because I really felt like I had created an addiction to him, that I was that my codependency, in a way, I'd never had before. I'd never had that kind of attachment.
Yeah. I think a lot of people in relationships can understand that, trying to keep something going and just ignoring, like you said, the deeper issue, and just saying, well, if I do this. All right, we're going to take a break, and then we'll talk about your wonderful relationship with Bruce and your children. We'll be back. We're back with Demi Moore, and she has a new book called Inside Out, and you talk about your relationship with Bruce Willis, and how you are still you remain friends to this day.
We are.
Yeah, which is really obviously important because of the children.
Yeah, and I think, I'm really grateful for rolling all the way back. It's been a long time since we separated, that we were both able to be clear that our children were our priority, and that whatever we had was not theirs, and find a way to share it and be a family in a different form. And even though it can require just some healing and time, I think it's made a huge difference in my children's life to feel
I think
that
if
they
people
didn't
can
have
do
to
it.
choose.
Yeah, it's a hard thing. I think it's not easy for everybody to do that, to have a relationship with your ex, but I think if you can do that, obviously it's the healthiest thing for everybody. I was at your wedding with Bruce, and it was and you describe it in the book, and it was the greatest wedding I have ever been to. And I mean, just from everyone singing when he was, Bruno's getting married, walking down the aisle, and that little Richard married y'all. It was amazing. It was a huge spectacle of a wedding.
And it was on 2 sound stages on this very lot. You cannot get more Hollywood than that.
Yeah. It was fantastic. So I have to ask, are you dating anyone right now?
No.
No.
By choice.
Yeah. Do you want to date? Would you go on an app, like a dating app?
Oh my God.
They have those for like celebrities now.
No.
Yeah.
You mean the one that's called like Raya? No. What is it called?
Oh, see, you know it. Don't act like you don't know what it
I
is.
don't know.
I didn't even
I
know
have
that.
children that are like, adults,
right.
so I get filled in a little.
Right.
No, I have 7 dogs. I mean,
Yeah. I think that's illegal, but we'll edit that out.
Yes.
7 dogs.
They're rescues. You got a rescue. You got a new one.
I know, I do. Yeah.
Look at my crew. Oh.
You probably had more, and some fell off that balcony. All right, so let's talk about the book. Really, as I said during the break, it's really well written. It's beautifully written, and your story is really interesting. You've had an interesting life, but what do you hope people walk away with when they read this book?
I mean, I think, setting out, I felt like, okay, is there anything that would be of interest to anyone? And then I realized, it is my story, but maybe, and I say this in the book, maybe some part of that is yours too. And, in my own journey, what I've realized is that what's happened to me isn't who I am. And the things I've done, whether I've been proud or have felt guilt and shame, are not who I am. They are just things I've done, and I can now see that how I hold it, though, is everything. And I hope that if for anyone reading it, that they can recognize some part of themselves that doesn't feel love, and start to see that we are love. Everything that we are love.
Yep. Only thing that's real. Demi's book is called Inside Out. It's available today everywhere books are sold, and today you're all going home with a copy, and we'll be back.